Welcome back, guys, to this amazing episode of Christianity over Islam with Shamoun. And on today's debate, Shamoun ends the Bible is corrupt claim by most Muslims that the Bible is corrupt. He has ended this claim today. Let's watch this video to get more details.
When you say reject the prophets, which prophets are we talking about?
All of them. Every last one of them.
So we don't reject them. Islam acknowledges 124,000 prophets.
All right, so let me ask you this, bro. Can you believe in the prophets and reject their message?
No.
I agree with you 100%. You believe in Prophet Dawood, right?
Yes.
Okay. And he was given the Zabur, the Psalms.
Yes.
And I want to show you something in the Psalms, and I want to see if you accept or reject it. So it says this. It says, I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within my breast. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to my jaws. You lay me in the dust of death. For dogs encompass me. A company of evildoers encircles me. They have pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. They stare and gloat over me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. So who do you think that David is talking about, who is surrounded by his enemies, being rejected and ridiculed, mocked, stripped of his clothes, have his clothes gambled over, and has his hands and his feet pierced?
So I'm gonna give you two answers. Number one, many prophets of God have been tortured, but number two, it sounds like Jesus.
All right, I like that.
So let me add something. So you're saying it sounds like Jesus, but you don't believe Jesus was pierced, right? His hands and feet?
We believe that right before crucifixion, his soul was sent to heaven.
No, yeah. So, but I'm not asking that. This is talking about his hands and
Physical
feet
body,
being
yes.
pierced.
The physical body, yes.
Are you saying in Shia tradition that you deny that someone was made to look like Jesus and he died in his place?
No, we do believe that who took his place was actually Judas.
So then why did you say that the physical part, yes, you don't believe Jesus was physically crucified. Someone else died. So you just said it sounds like Jesus. If it sounds like Jesus, that means Jesus was pierced, his hands and feet. That means he was nailed to the cross. But you say the Shia believe it was Judas.
Yes, but look, when you described who he is, that's your. First of all, I shouldn't say you. Is your belief Christianity?
Okay, but hold on. You know he quoted the Psalm. It's written 1,000 years before Jesus. So you're saying that David also believes, like we do, that Jesus was crucified?
I'm not a subject matter expert on that. I can't answer that question.
Okay, well, that was his point. His point is, if you understand his argument, that Prophet David, by wahi, revelation from the Holy Spirit, foretold that the one to come would have his hands and feet pierced, and he wrote this 1,000 years before. So David is already telling us beforehand what will happen to Messiah, that he'd be pierced through his hands and feet, and Jesus comes and he's pierced on the cross, killed on the cross. That means David agrees with us and agrees with the New Testament, but he disagrees with Shia. So how do you believe in David? That's his point.
Okay, then we're looking at two different points, because I was looking at the question by itself, which is rejecting prophets. We acknowledge the prophets. We can dispute over details, but it's not like we don't believe in Jesus or we don't believe in any of the prophets that came before him.
No, but remember,
I'm looking at the question exactly how it's written. That's where I'm answering.
Yeah, but remember what I said. I asked you, can you say that you believe in the prophets but reject their message that they came with? You said no. You got to believe in their message in order to believe in the prophets, right? So we both agreed on that foundation. So I showed you the message that David came with. The revelation that David came with says that Jesus, the Messiah, will be crucified, will have his hands and his feet pierced, will be ridiculed and mocked, surrounded by his enemies, have his clothes gambled over. But you reject this. So that means you reject the prophets, since you reject the message that he came with.
If that's the case, then no, if we go according to that statement, right, then every Jewish person is also rejecting the prophet as well.
Yes,
is that
yes.
correct?
Ones.
So then why is your title saying?
Okay, guys, before we continue with our video, and I think this is a very, very important debate. Muslims don't believe that Jesus was crucified, and then you cannot reject the prophecy and accept the prophet. You have to accept the prophet and the message. If you are accepting the prophet and rejecting his message, you are not actually accepting that prophet. Rather, you are denying the truthfulness of his message, which means that that prophet is a liar. And here they believe that the prophet, which is David in this argument now, is a true prophet. And so here now they are rejecting his prophecy in Psalm 22, which David said was talking, and he was rather prophesying, and he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from me, from helping me, and from the word of my rolling? And we got to find out that this prophecy was fulfilled in Matthew chapter 27 verse 46, when it was fulfilled in the life of Jesus. And it says that while he was on the cross, he cried out, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have thou forsaken me? You can see the fulfillment of this prophecy right here in the book of Matthew 27 verse 46. And Muslims are saying that Jesus did not die and he was not crucified, according to Muslim sources and the Quran. Can you see now that they reject the prophecy of David but accept the person of David? Let's get back to this video to get more details.
Muslims answer. Why are we
because you're my target audience tonight.
Yeah, we're not dealing with rabbinic Jews.
I got you. No, I understand. Okay.
Since you believe Judas died in Jesus' place.
Yeah.
Now, who made Judas look like Jesus?
I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, well, yeah, man, very honest. I like you.
Going back to the topic of Jesus, right? So, for example, you read the prophecy that Dawood read, right? That he stated and so forth, right?
Yeah.
And we're basing everything on that. But what about all the other messages that Jesus said? Why are we focusing only on his crucifixion or him being the Son of God rather than talking about everything good?
All right, well, since you mentioned that, if I show you from David that he agrees with the New Testament that the king is God's son, begotten of God, which disagrees with the Quran, are you going to now see that you have a problem? Psalm chapter 2.
No.
Psalm chapter 2. Well, you should have a problem because this disagrees with the Quran. Psalm 2, again written about 1,000 years before Christ. Notice what Psalm 2 says about the anointed king. In fact, so you can know it's about Messiah, if you read Psalm 2, verse 2. What does it say?
It says, the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his Messiah.
Messiah. The word here in Hebrew is Mashiach. Shicho, meaning his Messiah. So it's saying that the rulers oppose God and the Messiah. And then if you read to verse 7 all the way to 9, look what God says to the Messiah.
I will tell of the decree. The Lord said to me, you are my son. Today I have begotten.
Now, right there, your Quran says, Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He neither begets nor is begotten. But here, Psalm 2, written 1,000 years before Christ, says that the Messiah, Mashiach, is God's son, and God begets him to rule over all the nations. Do you agree with that?
I can't agree with that. I cannot. It goes against the core foundation of my belief.
Why don't you accept their message?
I think in order for me to accept their message, I would have to believe that is their message. And that's probably the core foundation, is that most Muslims probably don't believe that was the message that they sent.
All right, so you're telling me you want me to believe that the Hebrew scriptures, because the Psalms are also in the hands of the Jews. So you ask the rabbi to read Psalm 2:7 for you, and it's going to say the same thing that our translations say, because we both accept the Old Testament. They don't call it Old Testament, but it's the same scriptures. But you're telling me then the Jews agree to change their scriptures to agree with our theology. Which Jew in his right mind would allow the Old Testament to be changed to agree with Christian theology?
I have no answer to that one, because you got it. I don't think a Jew would do that. You're right. If it's gonna go against their religion, or it's gonna go pin them against them, they wouldn't do that. So I would have to give you the point on that one. You win on that one.
Okay, so then why does Psalm, which is a book in the hands of the Jews, and they have their own copies of it, and we have copies of it, agree with the New Testament? God's Messiah, King, is God's son. So they both agree over against Islam.
Probably the same reason that not every Jew is a Christian right now is because they probably believe that Jesus wasn't the Messiah. The Muslims also believe that the Messiah hasn't come yet.
Okay, but even if that's the case, they do believe when Messiah comes, he'll be the Son of God. So we still agree Messiah is God's son.
Welcome back, amazing people. That was a very fascinating episode of this amazing debate. You cannot accept, like I said earlier, you cannot accept a prophecy and then reject the prophet, and the other way around. You cannot accept the prophet and then reject the prophecy. So they have to go hand in hand. And then from the confirmation of David's prophecy from the book of Psalm chapter 22, the confirmation And the fulfillment of this prophecy came through in the book of Matthew chapter 27 verse 46 and Matthew 27 verse 35. And then Psalm 22 verse 1 said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my rolling? And we get to see that it was fulfilled in Matthew 27 verse 46. And it says, while he was on the cross, he cried out, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have thou forsaken me? And then and Psalm 22 verse 18 says, they part my garment among them and cast lots upon my vesture. And then this fulfillment came to pass in Matthew 27 verse 35. And it says, when they had crucified him, they divided up his clothes by casting lots. Can you see that what David prophesied in the book of Psalm came to pass in the New Testament in the book of Matthew? And now you are rejecting this prophecy by saying that Jesus did not die on the cross, that Jesus was exchanged with Judas Iscariot and Judas died in Jesus' place. And Shamoun asked him, if Judas died in the place of Jesus, who made Judas look like Jesus? He could not answer that. He said he doesn't know, because if he says that the Jewish people, then he's wrong, because Judas cannot be made to look like Jewish people because they will identify Jesus. And if he says it is God, it means that if he says it is Allah, it means that Allah is a deceiver. He has deceived the people and then make Judas look like Jesus for him to die in the place of Jesus. So that argument there is it's like a blank bullet. Guys, I believe you were able to learn something new from this amazing video. Let's know what you've learned in the comment section, and also don't forget to share our videos with your friends and your family, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos. Thank you.